Hello my beautiful patrons, welcome to another Q&A. Me and Emily have just sat in this office procrastinating, eating toast and tea and drinking tea. I've been really loving sourdough toast lately. I can't stop eating it. But anyway, today we're going to get into the Q&A. So I've just got you up on my phone and I'm going to just get straight into the questions. So let's see what we have. Right, so first question is from Mandy Farrell and she said, I'd really love to know where you get your workspace furniture from. The long desks and the PC used to organise pins mostly. So the long desks are already fit in that office that I rent. So it used to be an old joiner's room and he fit in those long desks. Basically all they are is kitchen units with a kitchen worktop on top, and the kitchen worktop is like one of those really cheap ones, like the cheapest you can get. And I know this because it scratches really easily. So that's all they are. The desks and stuff that are in this studio, like my fold up tables that are over there, which you might have seen on my older studio vlogs that I use quite often when I was shipping and stuff. This desk that you're sat on that I put pink vinyl on, that was all from IKEA. A lot of the stuff is from IKEA. I also do a lot of kind of hunting around at charity shops and stuff for things like chairs. The chair I'm currently sat on is an old IKEA chair that I found in a charity shop for £5. So always keep your eyes peeled for stuff like that. And the like drawer things here that had my enamel pins in was from Morrison's, a little supermarket. They don't sell them anymore. It was kind of one of those seasonal things where they'd get stuff in and then they wouldn't get it in anymore. And the enamel pin trays, again, they were left over from the joiner and they're called picking boxes, and you can have a look online at most wholesalers and you should be able to find some picking boxes, which is basically an open topped box that are stackable, and picking just means kind of as you pick them out. Usually what they're used in like with screws and stuff like that in like a builder's workshop, or they're used in factories and stuff for picking items ready to ship. It's also when you make stickers, is there a certain size you use on the iPad to draw them? Does your Cricut ever give you trouble when cutting? Mine does a lot of the time. Yes, my Cricut is so frustrating sometimes because sometimes it just will not cut right and I have to reset my computer and reset the Cricuts, and I'm like, what is going on with this machine? And sometimes as well, especially when I was in this studio, I used to have my Cricut just behind here, if you can remember, and the light shines directly inside. And in the summer months or in the winter months when the sun used to set really early, if the sun was shining on my Cricut sensor, it would have trouble reading the marks, especially with glossy paper. So yeah, I do definitely have issues, but I've found a position in which the sun and the lighting doesn't affect the sensor marks anymore, so that's good. And I've also found a paper that works a little bit better, and I find glossy paper tends to give me more issues than like matte paper does and stuff. When I make my stickers on the iPad, I tend to just draw on an A4 canvas size. That way I know that it's nice big quality and I can reduce it down and it'll still be nice and crisp and it's not going to be pixelated or anything. Usually with stickers they are quite small unless they're my sticker packs, but I always use an A4 canvas, so I hope that helped. Kate, hello Kate, has wrote, hi Catherine, I'd love to know if the printer you use for your dye sublimation is an actual dye sublimation printer, or is it a normal printer that you put dye sub inks into? So yes, it is a normal printer. It's an Epson 345 printer, and I have put my own cartridges in, not my own, I bought some cartridges that were compatible and I injected my own inks into them. So you're correct, it is an Epson printer, not suited for sublimation, and I've put my own sublimation equipment in it. And this doesn't work for all printers, so you have to do your research on this if you're thinking of getting a sublimation printer. The one that's suggested the most is the Ricoh. I don't know if you've heard of this, but a lot of sublimation forums and stuff, when I was doing my research about printing, recommend the Ricoh. Apparently it's a really good printer for sublimation and stuff, but I haven't personally tried it because I was on a budget when I first bought this printer, and it's stood the test of time, to be fair. It's been working very well for me. My husband bought the dye sub printer made just for dye sub inks, but it's calibrated to his computer, not mine, and I want to print my own so I can get the colours right. Have you had any problems with dye sub printing? What tips are good to know when starting out? Or any tips on getting the colours right so that the print can be as bright as you see on the screen? My husband prints are great, but I use brighter colours in my work than he does. He's a landscape photographer. I'm worried I might lose some contrast or vibrant colour. I paint mandalas mainly, so please could you share where you buy your coasters from? I can only find square cork backed, not round ones, and I'd love round ones for my mandalas. So coasters are from Science World. A lot of my sublimation stuff is from Science World, and that's SAGNZ World, and you can find them on eBay. So if you type in round sublimation coasters, a lot will come up. It'll depend whereabouts you are, but if you're based in the UK, Science World have their own coasters in square and round. And you can just search the web for, there's a lot of sublimation companies in the UK, and if you just type in round sublimation coasters, you should be able to find them. And also be wary, because I once bought some sublimation coasters and they were really thin, so make sure they've got that nice thick MDF in between the cork and the top, because you can get a cheaper version which is just cork and then the top without the MDF base, and I found they looked really cheap and I didn't end up using them. In terms of the bright colours, I've not really had any issues. The sublimation inks just kind of printed as they've printed. Have you experimented with your husband's printer? Have you tried your designs? Have you experimented with them? Why don't you see an experiment and just ask your husband to print one of your designs out and print them as an experiment? And if there's no issues, then just keep going the way it's going. The thing is with sublimation is it's a bit hard because the inks print out faded on the paper, and then when you press them they will then go more vibrant. So it's a lot different to the kind of usual printing where when you print it out the colours are the colours. It's not like that with sublimation. My prints always print out more faded or desaturated, and then when they're pressed under heat they brighten up a lot. What I would suggest is if you're having issues, I would just change the brightness and contrast on your Photoshop file. Do a few little experiments until you're happy with the correct one. So say my coasters were slightly darker when they were pressed, I would go into my Photoshop file and I would bump the brightness up to match the print. Does that make sense? And then I'd press it and see what it looked like, and then if that file worked I would save that file to something more accurate like my original design. I hope that made sense. So I hope that helped, Kate. I'm gonna have another sip of tea now. Nikki Jackson Art has said, hi Catherine, when creating designs for enamel pins, what size on the page should you draw your design? There's no set way, it's totally up to you. I use A4. I just use the A4 canvas. It's just something that I'm really used to. I find that the DPI is perfect on Procreate and it's what works for me. And I feel like because it's only going to be that small, if I, you know, I'd rather scale it up and draw on a big scale so that it can be compressed down rather than the other way around. It's virtually impossible to compress up without any pixel loss. So I tend to draw bigger than the design, and I usually find A4 works for me for things like enamel pins and stuff. I've never had an issue with using the A4 canvas, so I hope that helps. Diana, hello Diana, has wrote, hi Catherine, I'm struggling to find a good sticker paper. I've been experimenting with a few and they are too cheap. They're either yellow or my Cricut tears them. Whereas if I buy more expensive, it eats away any profits I make. I want to produce good quality stickers but don't want to be working for nothing, if you know what I mean. Can you recommend any please? I feel like I'm going around in circles. So this is really hard, Diana, because I have upgraded to an expensive paper. Now I buy it in bulk, and when I started out I did not start out with the expensive paper. It's something I've adapted to over time. I started out with that paper that had a yellow backing and I never really had any complaints. I always had 5-star reviews. I never really had any issues with that, and it's just something I had to do while I was small and I was working my way up. Now that I'm a little bit more established and I have a bit more money behind me, I can invest in bulk, which makes it a lot cheaper. So the sticker paper that I use is actually a premium matte vinyl for my planner stickers and my sticker packs. Now this was costing me so much because I used to just use my vinyl for my sticker packs, as my sticker packs are more expensive in my Etsy store than my planner stickers. But then I decided to test it out on my planner sticker paper, and I just loved the quality. I fell in love with it so much. It was like so smooth and silky, and it was just what I would want as a customer in a sticker paper, and I just fell in love with it. And I thought, right, I'm going to update these, and I'm currently in the process of switching out to this newer paper, and it was very expensive. It was working out, I think, £1 something a sheet, which was working out obviously 50p a planner sticker sheet, which isn't too bad if you're selling it for £2.79, which was my original price. It's now lower at £2.49 because I can now fit 4 on a sheet because I've reduced the paper size, because I found I was getting a lot of paper waste. I wasn't cramming in the stickers very well. The design was flawed and there was a lot of negative space around the sticker paper, so I adjusted them, as you might have seen in my studio vlogs. So it's hard to say. I would say while you're starting out, just keep with that sticker. Have you asked your customers what they feel about that sticker paper? I received some PO boxes when they're using the older sticker paper that I used to use, and I still really enjoy using those stickers. So while you're starting out, profit is definitely something to look into. Now that I buy in the sticker paper in bulk, it no longer costs me £1 per sheet. It costs me more like 50p per sheet, so I've cut that in half because I buy 400 at a time, which can cost me like 100 to 200 to 300 pound just for paper, which is madness. But buying that in bulk saves me money in the long run, but it's something that I didn't have the resource for early on, so I never ever used to do that. One thing you could try is, if you're very early on in the stage, I used to, very early on, was glossy paper. Glossy paper just has a more premium quality than matte paper if you're looking at the cheaper options. For me, glossy paper, I don't like the feel or look of it as much in my planners and stuff, but when I first started out, it did have that more premium look than the cheaper matte paper, because it's very hard to find a good cheap matte paper. It's virtually impossible. If anyone finds one, please let me know, because I'm struggling as well, and I've upgraded to the vinyl. So I really hope this was helpful. Look into glossy paper, that could be a solution. If you've got a laser printer, glossy paper for laser works really well. Sometimes inkjet can cause smears, and glossy, it's all just one big experimentation with what works with you and your printer as well. It's such a pain. I remember all the painstaking days I used to have in the studio, and I used to have my printer in this corner here, and I used to do print after paper after paper, and I used to buy packs of 50, packs of 10, experiment with so many different types until I just got so frustrated, and I asked Emily what she thought of my sticker packs, and she said she likes them. And at the time they were a lot cheaper because I wasn't using the vinyl, and then I just decided to publish them as they were because they weren't perfect at that stage, but I knew in the future I would invest more money in them when I was more established, and that's what I did. So don't beat yourself up too much about them being perfect right now. Focus on getting those profits in and keeping your expenses as low as possible so you can save up to eventually be more established and eventually buy things in bulk. Hopefully that helps. Savannah Francesca said, "Hi Catherine, I hope you are having a great August so far. I have 2 questions. First, what are your go-to brushes to use in Procreate?" So my go-to brushes, which I pretty much use on a daily basis, are the 6B pencil for sketching. So I'm just going to get my iPad out here and I'm going to show you them all. So I use this. So if you go into sketching, I use the 6B pencil. Then I also use, if you head on into calligraphy, I use the script pen and the monoline pen for my line art. So script pen at the bottom there, I always call it studio pen by accident, but it's called the script pen, and the monoline up here. Then if you go into artistic, I use gouache sometimes for colouring too, which adds that really nice painting texture. And those are the brushes I use over and over again. And if you've seen some of my recent work, I've also been enjoying using the light pen to create like a glow around kind of light, create light characters and stuff, like a fire or something. So yeah, I hope that helped. Second, have you started planning new products for the fall? I know there's still a month to go, but it's one of my favourite seasons, so I'm counting down the days. Start now, Savannah. Definitely start now. I find it really helpful to launch early September for fall stickers. I've already started, so I'm already doing my ghosties and stuff, which are for Halloween, and I've already done my fox things, which I did at the very beginning of August. The reason I've done it that early though was because I wanted to release the enamel pins in September, so I wanted to release that autumn fox in September, ready for kind, so it gives me 2 months of fall, because there's only 2 months, there's September and October, and then in November it's all Christmas and it's kind of geared towards Christmas and stuff, so start designing them now. Mandy Farrell said, also, how do you print and cut your sticker sheets without cutting the text? So I have done a YouTube video on this. You have to create a background file with solid white underneath the sticker sets, so you should have two layers on Cricut. Let me go get some stickers as an example. I'm back with a piece with one of my stickers just as an example. So I have designed one layer with this banner on the top here and this banner on the bottom here and filled this in white. That's one layer. My second layer is all of these on a transparent background over the top. That way it doesn't cut out any of the text or anything up here, and then you attach the layers together. Now, to cut the background along with the Kiss Cut stickers, what I do is I duplicate the background by 4 or 5 times and I position them in the exact same position on the Cricut mat, and the Cricut cuts around it 4 or 5 times, and it ends up cutting like this. So I hope that helped. Definitely go back and review the video on my channel where I talk about attaching and everything like that, and hopefully that has helped. Spring, hello Spring, has said, hi Catherine, I just saw your most recent video and I have a few questions. One, why Lightroom? Is it better than Photoshop? I've never used Lightroom, only Photoshop, so just trying to figure out why one over the other. This is a very good question because I only ever used to use Photoshop 2 until very recently. I'm talking like within the last 3, not even 3 months, 2 months, I've discovered Lightroom. I kept hearing it cropped up and all the photographers would talk about it, and I was like, no, I like the tools on Photoshop. The tools on Photoshop are fantastic. The good thing about Lightroom is the presets. So think of it like a preset filter. It has saved me so much time. You can set up your own presets. So say I always add a blue tint to my photos, which is what I tend to do. I like a cooler look to my photos than the yellowy tint. And say I do a colour balance where I add a pink photo filter, for example, and then I have the exposure up. I can save that preset, and rather than putting it into Photoshop every single time, I just click that preset on each photo and voila, my photos are edited already. I don't have to go into Photoshop and edit them and be like irritated by it. I can just apply that filter basically to all my photos, which has sped up the process so much. I still do transfer them into Photoshop now and then, and I do some like adjustments in Photoshop because I'm still getting used to Lightroom, but I found that Lightroom for me has saved a significant amount of time. The only time I do switch it into Photoshop is when I'm creating Etsy listings and I'm creating a custom size, so I'll drag that photo into Photoshop and I will adjust the size ready for Etsy. So that is why I've started to use Lightroom recently. You can also purchase some Lightroom presets off some amazing Etsy sellers. If you're not very good at photography and you want some professional presets that have already been done for you, definitely go check it out. Just be wary of using presets like that on your Etsy products because they can change the colours of your products, and that's not what you want. You want your colours to look accurate to life on things like products and stuff, so just be wary of preset filters for Etsy product listing photos. so I hope that helps. Could you give a demo on the presets you use for Lightroom? I think I understand what you're talking about, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna film what I use for you and I'm gonna insert it in this Q&A because it's hard to explain it. So roll VT right now, future Catherine, let's get to work. We're on Lightroom right now, and this is one that I've done earlier. So this was shared to my Instagram and I did this on the Lightroom on my phone and I used the presets. But along here we've got one that hasn't been edited. So this was just took on my phone and I wanted to add my presets that I've created. So you click down here and you click presets. And I've got one saved, so I've got one called Catnip Blue Tint, Catnip Blue Tint Darker, Catnip Blue Tint Softer. Let's have a look at what these look like. So we'll click it. So this is my presets. As you can see, it's a little bit too light at the minute, and all I do is, if I'm not happy with the presets, which is I've saved them myself, I've used exposure, I've used contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks to get it to where I want it to be. I've added some sharpening here, but to me this is a little bit too exposed, so I would usually come in here, I'll maybe change the saturation a little bit and the vibrance a little bit like this, so it comes out. There we go, that's more like it. And I might turn the temperature down to blue. Now, if I wanted to save this as a preset itself, I'd just simply click on this, manage presets or create presets, and I would save it as a preset. But I'm not going to do that because I've just edited a preset. But as you can see, I've got different ones here, and as I hover over them, it applies the preset to them. And that is the beauty of Lightroom, because it means if I've got loads and loads of photos to edit, and say a photo of the same kind of batch that I've just done, and I want to apply this filter to all my photos, I would save this as a preset, say Catnip Saturated or whatever I want to call it, and I would just select all of my photos and apply that preset. I hope it helps. Have a play around with colour, the light, and kind of develop a style and a preset that suits you and your theme and your products and stuff. I hope that helps. Okay, so now you're back. It's literally been 1 second since I said the last bit. It's so funny, the power of editing. Well done, future Catherine, for doing that. So hopefully you got the gist of that and you found it helpful. Would you ever consider doing a critique of an Etsy shop, Insta or website? There's a YouTuber who I watch who's an owner of an Etsy shop. Her channel focused on creating small business content. She would take a look at a few once a month or so and give honest feedback. This is so weird that you have just said this, because me and Emily have been having a little meeting this morning with our tea and toast, and I said I really love the idea of opening up 5 slots per month for Etsy shop critiques, where I break down the Etsy store, I break down the photos, the titles and tags, and I do a YouTube video. So not only is it a critique and I'll run down the key points of the Etsy store, what I think's good, what I think's bad, what I think could be improved, I would also share it obviously with my audience with the links in the description, so it would work out as an advertisement